Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to this FYP2 briefing, which also serves as a briefing for the subject undergraduate seminar. All right. So my apologies for maybe it was kind of short notice. I emailed all of you about organizing this briefing only about 2 days ago. So maybe that's why a number of students are not here. But I have to do this week because next week on Friday, I have a busy schedule. And then I also do not want to postpone doing this like in previous semesters. When things get postponed, it get postponed really late. And then I would be doing FYP2 briefing a bit too late to the point that some students that already almost completed the FYP report. So I think I need to cover this early in the semester so that some of the things that I'm going to highlight in this briefing is taken into account when you are completing and finalizing your FYP report for final submission this semester. Okay, so first thing I would like to explain, now FYP2 is basically the end of the journey when it comes to your FYP. So all of you who are here, I believe, have successfully completed FYP1, in which case, if you notice the grade that you got for FYP1 that appeared on your transcript, the grade is IP. IP means in progress. And one thing that you should notice also when you see the FYP1 subject code that appears in the system and also in the transcript, the subject code comes with a digit 3010. The end digit is 0, means it's 0 credit hours. So the grade that you got for FYP1, in actual fact, does not matter. What I mean is it does not contribute to your CGPA. As far as FYP is concerned, or final year project is concerned, the only grade that matters is the one that comes at the end of this semester, which is for FYP2, and it carries 8 credit hours. And as you can see, the subject code is 3018, I believe, right? So 8 is the last digit, means it's 8 credit hours. So that is the first thing that you should remind yourself about the importance, right? In terms of the size and enormity of the FYP, especially for those of you who are chasing probably for award lists, especially for first class honors, especially not for first class honors, getting at least a B+ for FYP is really something that compulsory that you have to achieve, because B+ is 3.5 point, so that would still put you up for first class honors list. But we actually have for students of a certain batch where the first class honors cutoff point is actually higher. It's actually 3.7 or 3.75. So I'm not really sure exactly which batch is this. I think it's the batch, those of you who are in the end code, you actually need to get 3.75 in order to get first class honors. Don't blame me. This is something that is set by the institution. To be very honest, also, it's not something that is set by us here in Malaysia. 3.75 is basically the benchmark that was given to us by our parent organization now, UOW Australia, or University of Wollongong Australia. So it's, again, a bigger task then for you, a bigger challenge then for all of you, if you would like to target achieving first class honors upon graduation. Okay, so the other thing that is important for me to clarify is this little subject called undergraduate seminar. Right, so undergraduate seminar, again, if you haven't noticed this before, when it comes to the credit value or credit hours value of your respective courses or subjects over here in KDU, you can find the indication or indicator in the last digit of your subject code. So if you look into undergraduate seminar, the subject code, I believe, is, hold on, what's the subject code? It should be MBCM 3 something, but at the end, the last digit is number 1. So it is worth 1 credit hours. Okay, so let me just explain to you openly and honestly why this subject is introduced. I believe I did explain this before to a group of bachelor's degree students in a town hall organized by the PL before, Miss Angie, I think about 1 or 2 years ago. But again, I would like to repeat the point. Basically, it's this. If you notice one particular change that has happened in terms of your MPU courses, some of you students who are from the previous batch, those who came into our program before 2021, means it's 2020 and September 2020 and before that. The MPU course that you take, one of them is corporate social responsibility, or CSR. But then later on, we revised that into a newly or a renamed subject called GSR, Global Social Responsibility. Now, the key difference between CSR and GSR is that CSR is worth 3 credit hours, GSR is worth only 2. So as a result of that, those of you students who are part of the new grading system with subject codes N at the end of your subject registration, you take GSR 2 credit hours. So your total credit hours compared to students who took CSR before is 1 credit hour less. Now, if you want to ask me why that we change CSR or this MPU subject from 3 to 2 credit hours, the reason is we had to, because the previous total package of MPU subjects that we had here in KDU for undergraduate programs for bachelor's degree was actually the total credit hours was more than what was required. So I believe it should not be more than 14. So, but we had 15. This is including all the other MPU courses, hubungan ethnic, TITAS, privacy, and so on. So you add all of them together, I think it was 15, but we shouldn't have gone more than 14. 14 was maximum. So as a result of that, we were asked to reduce one of our MPU courses, the value of the credit hours. So we determined that the best place to do this is to reduce CSR from 3 to 2, so that the subject becomes more heavily emphasized on activity rather than classes. So the learning hours was less. So the credit hours, credit value also is less. So in that situation, then we had to figure out how to compensate for the loss of 1 credit hour from CSR to GSR, so that students who take GSR would still graduate with the minimum total credit hours of 120 for the bachelor's degree program. Okay, so we decided upon this. So we have created a new 1 credit hour subject called undergraduate seminar. But please do not be worried. This class or this subject called undergraduate seminar is not essentially a new subject. It is basically taking out the Viva presentation component from FYP2 outside of the grading for FYP. Now, what I mean by that is this. In our current practice, and also for students who are still currently, those of you who are taking FYP2 now and your subject code is without the letter N, means you follow the old or the previous KDU grading system, right? The way that we grade FYP is that your Viva presentation eventually will merge. The marks will be merging, would merge into the marks for your FYP report, and then we convert it into 100, and then that becomes your final grade for FYP2. However, for those of you who are in the new grading system with the N letter at the end of your subject code, your grading then would be separated between the evaluation for your FYP report, the written report submission, and the Viva presentation. So the Viva presentation would be a grade on its own that is worth 1 credit hour. But those of you, but when it comes to the FYP report, evaluating the report itself would be for FYP2 and only for FYP2. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So for any one of you who is asking whether or not undergraduate seminar has classes, no, there are no classes for FYP for undergraduate seminar, but I will, as part of the arrangements or the subject that we have created over here, undergraduate seminar, the Viva presentation starting from this semester will be more seminar-like, which means the presentation will no longer be individual. It would be like in a seminar type where you present, there will be an audience and there will be a group of examiners, of course, as always. So presentation for Viva presentation starting from this semester will be more like a seminar, conference kind of presentation. So in a way, it's more formal because we want to make it in a way as something which is part of the training and exposure that you have when it comes to doing formal presentation. Now, the slight issue that we have in terms of how we do this, especially since this semester is a unique semester because we have a combination of both students in the old grading system and also new grading system. One group do not take undergraduate seminar, the other one is taking. So how do we, in a way, synchronize things, especially when it comes to the assessment rubric? So that will be my duty then to slightly revise the assessment rubric for FYP because previously the Viva presentation would contribute 15% of the overall FYP2 grade. So now we cannot do that anymore. So we need to separate that. So in doing that separation, I also need to consider how do we grade then students who are from the old grading system who are not taking undergraduate seminar, right? So whatever arrangements that we do, we will be fair to you. We are not going to do any drastic changes. Right? However, there is a need definitely for us to do that because of this new subject called undergraduate seminar. Right, I can see a question just now about this. All right, now who has to register for undergraduate seminar? Now, all of you who are in your subject registration, you register with the N letter at the end of the subject code, and you follow the new grading system. The new grading system means with grades starting from A plus and then A and A minus. So all of you who have gone through the program following that, you have to take undergraduate seminar. However, those of you who are from the old grading system, and that includes also a number of you who are flow-through students. Flow-through means you actually got credit transfer from your previous study, either diploma here or maybe from somewhere else. So you also fall under the category of old student, right? You do not take undergraduate seminar. Right, so this is something that you need to verify either with me or Miss Susie, but basically that's the distinction or how you differentiate or identify whether or not you need to take undergraduate seminar. Now, I do see from the attendance list that there is still a number of you who are registered under FYP2 new subject code with the N letter. You have not registered for undergraduate seminar. So please check back, right? If you have gone through your entire program with the new grading system with A plus, A minus, and then you have all your subject registration with the N letter at the end, you need to take undergraduate seminar. You don't take it, then you will not have enough credit hours to graduate. Okay? So yeah, I think the slight confusion would be for cases of students who came in 2021, but you had credit transfer. If you have credit transfer, you actually are considered to be from the old cohort, previous cohort or previous year's cohort, 2020. So because of that, by right, you should not have taken courses with N letter at the end. So you do not need to take undergraduate seminar. Okay. Yes, Nelson, you are correct. Essentially, those without N at the end of the code does not need to take undergraduate seminar. You are correct. Okay, so because there shouldn't be any student that is, from the old system taking undergraduate seminar. If for some reason your credit hours is less, there must be somewhere else that you have left out or have not taken certain courses. So you need to check back the list of your core courses and specialization courses, MPU courses, see whether you have taken and completed all of them. Okay. All right, so any specific or individual concerns or unclear matters or issues about this, please consult with me or Miss Susie after this. Okay. All right, now let's move on to what I would like to cover about FYP2. All of you over here, I believe, have successfully completed FYP1. I can mention this now. As far as I think I can recall specifically, there was only one student that we did not manage to get him to proceed to FYP2, but that was also because there was no submission. So there is no submission at all. It's really nothing that we can do. Now, for most of you over here, for almost everyone, when it comes to the stage of FYP1, we understand that when you are taking FYP1, in most cases, you are taking also together with a number of courses. So there's a lot of assignments you have to deal with and juggle with when it comes to completing your FYP draft, right? FYP1 draft for chapters 1 until 3. So because of that, we have never been very strict when it comes to how detailed and how complete your chapters 1 until 3 must be when you submit for FYP1. As long as we can see genuine progress and there is a clear prospect that next semester you can catch up and you can complete your FYP during FYP2, then we will pass you or give you the grade IP in progress. But having said that, I have to say that there are a number of students based on the remarks and the marks given by your respective supervisor, you barely pass FYP1, right? With marks of between 50 to 55. Right? The grade, of course, like I said, is the same with everyone that passed. It's IP. But those of you, right, you know yourself where you stand. Your progress during FYP1 could be quite slow. So because of that, you really need to catch up and really focus on what you need to do this semester and complete your FYP by the end of the semester. Okay, now that said also, there are a number of students here who are directly under me. I am your supervisor. I haven't given back my feedback to you for your FYP1. My apologies for that. I will try and finalize that over this long weekend and then pass it to you by next week so that you can start working on your data collection. Basically, at the point of now, at the start of your FYP2 semester, you should be already in the process of at least finalizing your research instrument for data collection, starting preparing to start data collection. Right. So if you're doing a survey, finalize your survey instrument, your survey questionnaire, and so on. If you're doing interview, and finalize your interview protocol, and also your contacting your informants or your respondents, make arrangements when and how you're going to meet them and conduct the interview, and then do the interview or data collection in general in the next few weeks so that you can concentrate on writing the report or analyzing the data and writing the report, especially for chapter 4 and 5 after that. Okay, so that should be the stage that you are in. If you are not at that stage yet, in which you are still struggling when it comes to finalizing or completing your chapter 2 literature review, then you really need to step up and see how you can work more efficiently in trying to complete this according to the time frame that is given. Okay, so now I would like to share a slide covering a few important highlights in relation to issues that we normally see when it comes to FYP2 submission. Okay, now all of you here also by right should still have access to the open learning page for FYP, right? So you guys should be under the January, because I'm using only the one open learning page that covers both FYP1 and 2. So you are in the group January 2023 FYP1. So the group is still active. I'm still using this for any communication for now for FYP2. But there was a bit of a confusion just now. I was trying to post an announcement to only you guys, January 2023 group. No, I wanted to actually post only for the May group, May 2023, but then the announcement somehow went to you guys from last semester. So I'm not sure exactly how that technically by right I should be able to send separate messages or messages specifically to different groups for specific groups of students. For some reason just now there was a bit of a, I don't know, technical error or maybe something on my part that I didn't quite understand. But I'll work this out. But basically I just would like to say all the documents that you have over here remains applicable. So the guideline and the forms, extension form, log sheet forms, they remains the same. So follow that. The only thing that probably there will be some revision would be the assessment rubric for your FYP report, right? Because like I said, we are now not we will not have now marks from the Viva presentation contributing to the FYP report overall, because now it's a separate thing. Undergraduate seminar is basically Viva presentation. So I may do some changes to that. I definitely have to do some changes to that, but we'll see then how will that affect those of you who are from the old grading system, whether we retain a separate one or we do something which is combining both. That will be something for me and my colleagues, senior colleagues over here will try to see how best we deal with this. Okay. Now, coming back to the slides, I will cover these points for today to highlight a few common errors when it comes to FYP final report submission, to explain proposed arrangements for FYP Viva presentation, and also to remind on submission deadlines and requirements. Okay, first thing, common errors. All right, so the first category of common errors over here refers to formatting. Now, some of us probably may think formatting is just, something for those with OCD, may take may pay serious attention to. Of course, that is one group of one case. But then overall, I would like to say that as communication and media studies student, majority of you, I'm sure, will be working one way or the other where you have to prepare documents, reports, things like that. So when it comes to the kind of work that you do in the future, definitely you need to be very much, efficient when it comes to complying to the format that is given, the template that is provided, and things like that. So please take this seriously, because the guideline that we have given to you, or the handbook that we have given to you for FYP, is very detailed in terms of font size, font type, margin, spacing. So please follow that, right? If you feel it's really tedious to go through the guideline, refer to the samples I have given, because the samples I have given, they are also good samples as far as compliance to format is concerned. So look into that, so that whatever that you submit later on, it appears to be in compliance with the style and format that we have given. We are not going to measure every single page that you have, whether it is really like according to the length of inches or centimeters that we ask. We won't do that, but we can know, right, looking on at face value, whether or not it is complying or there is an attempt genuine attempt to comply to the format that is given. So please ensure that you take this seriously, because these are there are marks for this, definitely, and the marks that you get for formatting by right should be easy for everyone to score very high, because as long as you comply, then you are okay. You will get very high marks. But if you don't comply, font size is different, font type is different, spacing is not consistent, and then what do you expect us to do then when it comes to the marks that we give? So please look into it. Now, having said that, beyond those common issues, I would like to highlight a couple of standardized formatting for specific areas in the FYP report for you to pay attention to, right? So that you don't make the same mistakes as those made by your seniors before this. Now, title page, as stated in your guideline for dissertation for FYP, right, this is what you need to do, should appear like an inverted pyramid, written in bold, uppercase letters, 18 font size, using single spacing. Okay, indicate the name of school and so on and so forth. So how do you, so what are the common mistakes that we see with this? Okay, this is the example that you see, format that was given in the handbook itself. Now, one particular common error that we see is students do not comply with the inverted pyramid structure. So inverted pyramid basically means it is triangle upside down, right? So the first line should be the longest, and then followed by the second lines, and so on and so forth, as best as you can. Of course, we are not going to measure the slope. It has to be straight line. We're not going to look at that, but it must be an attempt in trying to get that inverted pyramid as best as you can. Okay. A common error that we find also, because there are a number of you work on your FYP, and it's something understandable. We understand that you work on your FYP based on a template or an example from your seniors. So maybe your senior submitted his or her PhD in the year 2020, 2021, or last year, 2022. So the year over here was not changed when you submit. So that's not nice. Right? It's very sloppy, if I may say so. So you need to ensure that this is 2023. Okay. Inverted pyramid, how does it look like? So it's like this. Okay, so the sample here is exactly the sample that I've given before. You can access this on Open Learning under samples. So inverted pyramid basically is like this, or like this. And this one is perhaps much more like an inverted pyramid, including the name itself. So this is in a way very, very good. But if you make it like this, in a way almost like perfect slope, doesn't give you an extra marks. So again, I wish to say that this is something that we would like to see, at least genuine attempt on your part in trying to comply with the requirement. But we are not asking you to burden yourself trying to get an exact slope like this, and adjust your name also, just to ensure that you have an inverted pyramid. Okay, so these are two examples that you can refer to. Now, I think there's a slight difference over here in terms of your name, whether it is in small caps or in capital letters. So this one is in all caps. This one is in small caps. So I believe this is something that it's stated over here. Your full legal name of the student appears in bold uppercase. So it should be in caps as well, all caps. So this would be the best example. This one is a slight error over there. But these, something small like this, small error like this is something which is not really significant. So we are not going to minus marks just because it is not uppercase letters over here. But you get what I mean. There must be an attempt to ensure that you comply as best as you can. Occasionally, I have this issue also with students putting the UOW Malaysia KDU logo too large of a size. It covers like almost half the page of your cover page. So please reduce that and make sure that it is something that looks aesthetically balanced, right? So that it's not so huge. At the center, of course, do not make it too small. Again, these are the things that you can play around with. There is margin of error or margin of acceptance in a way that we're not going to be very precise in terms of requiring how you do it, but ensure that you make genuine attempt to comply with the requirement given. So these are examples of errors, right? This one is, you can see the title page, very small, lowercase, and then stated over here also KU University College, Kuala Lumpur some more. KU was never in Kuala Lumpur, so I don't know where this is actually coming from. So obviously when we have submissions that has, rather weird information stated over there, it does raise some questions, in terms of why and how and information like that ended up on your cover page. But of course, we can't be accusing anyone without any evidence, but you can, understand from our point of view as examiners, when we see something like this, it does create a very bad impression in terms of, the quality of the work that you have done. Okay. This one is spacing. I think this is a common error that is easily rectified, right? So when you put in your title at the front page, it should be single spacing. So this one is double space. So as a result of that, it has taken out a lot of space on the cover page. So please ensure that you follow the example from the previous slides just now. Okay, this should be single spacing. Right. Now, next is abstract. Now, abstract is something that in previous semesters we were not very particular in terms of the format, but now I would like to revive back a certain standard format when it comes to the abstract, and that is, first of all, in terms of the length of the abstract, 200 to 250 words. And it should be only in one paragraph. It should not be anything more than that. So 200, 250 words, definitely not just one paragraph. It should also be only in one page. So if it's more than one page, then it must be something over there that you need to see again, whether or not you can reduce the length of your abstract. Now, abstract should be like this. Okay, the whole paragraph should be single spacing. And then you add in the information according to the format or example over here. Title of your research, your name, your degree program, and then your major or specialization. For those of you who are in the UBPR program, perhaps you don't need to put major over there. You can just put your degree title and then in parentheses or in brackets, public relations. So we understand already then that you are from UBPR, your specialization is public relations. For those of you in UCOM, if you can emphasize what is your area specialization, would be nice for you to put it over here. Now, the abstract should be, like I said just now, one paragraph and also single spacing, fully justified, and add also the keywords according to the format like this. Keywords and then the words itself in italics. So what are the keywords exactly? The keywords are basically mainly your variables and other concepts or words that are significant or crucial to the focus of your research. All right, so this is a good example in a way, utilization, dating applications, psychological impact. So referring to what you have as your variables, IV and DV, independent, dependent variables, and also other key concepts. What is the limit in terms of keywords? There's essentially no limit to it, but definitely if the number of keywords is anything like more than or close to 10, I think it's a bit too much, too many. I think number of keywords should cover, I would say minimum 3, maximum maybe 6. Right? maybe one or two more if your research is focusing on maybe specific groups of people, like, a group of journalists somewhere or a group of activists in a specific location. So those are keywords also, if it's referring to a specific location. But I think 3 to 6 would be a good estimation in terms of how many keywords you should have. 3 is covering the basics, your main variables, and also your focus group of people, young adults or college students or university students. So IV, DV, and your sampling, your respondents. So that should be the minimum. Now, what do you write in your abstract? Your abstract should not provide any specific details. However, it should cover, right, the basic information in terms of the research objective, right? And the research objective, probably you can write in about 2 or 3, no, you can start maybe with 1 or 2 sentences about the background of the topic, and then 1 or 2 sentences about the research objective, and then write about what is the methodology that you use. Right? You can provide some information, specific information also in terms of the number of respondents that you have. In this case, for example, 4 participants were identified, so it means 4 people were interviewed. So you can mention that. In fact, I think you should mention that definitely, how many people that you have in as your respondents in your research. If it's an interview, how many people you interviewed. If it's a survey, how many respondents did you manage to collect data from, and their demographic characteristics, their age group, their location, and the way that you conducted the survey, if it's online or if it's paper and pencil, or if you did your interview online or is it on location, you can mention that in 1 or 2 compact sentences, right, with all those information put together. And then at the end, there should be also 1 or 2 sentences to explain the results in terms of the general findings and also general conclusion and recommendations. Okay. Recommendations should be, the last sentence in your abstract should be something that relates to recommendation for future studies, but very brief. It doesn't have to be elaborated. Okay, basically the idea, as you know, I'm sure all of you in the process of doing your literature review previously, you have, you have come across numerous examples of journal articles. You have seen the abstract, how they write. There could be, in a way, some variation in terms of the format of the abstract, but we would like to keep it like this. But you can essentially see that the common features of this abstract are more or less standard, which covers the information I mentioned just now. Okay, so this is about the abstract. Secondly, about diagrams, especially when it comes to conceptual framework or theoretical framework, and both theoretical framework and also conceptual framework. Theoretical framework especially, because you would probably referring to a theory that is well established. So you find the diagram that explains or simplify the theory from a book somewhere or from an image from any online resources that you find. Now, I have, I would like to emphasize on this. Diagrams, you should not just simply copy and paste. Redo the diagram on your own. Okay, do not just simply copy and paste from a reference that you get either from online or from a printed book. Redo the diagram. It shouldn't be that difficult. What is essential also, especially when it comes to doing this on your own, is that you can simplify the conceptual framework or the theoretical framework in accordance to the scope of your study. What I mean by that is you probably are referring to, as part of your theoretical framework, a theory that has multiple factors in terms of its, secondary factors, or maybe even other supplementary features of the theory, which may not be applicable for your research. Your research probably would refer to only one aspect of the theory. So because of that, referring to the whole diagram, putting it into your FYP report doesn't quite make sense, because your theoretical framework ought to be something that you refer to right, as a way to make sense of the data that you have for the purpose of interpretation and conclusion later on. So because of that, do not just simply put a diagram that is complicated for the sake of it appearing nice and bombastic and advanced, so to speak, trying to impress the examiner. I can't say for my other colleagues, but definitely for me, I am not impressed by anyone who tries to put things for the sake of just putting things without any relevance, right? So when it comes to diagram, that is one of the things I've been looking at. Put a diagram or redo the diagram so that it suits your own research, right? Especially also for your conceptual framework. Conceptual framework is essentially, if you need to have a diagram, is to explain your IV and DV, independent variable, dependent variable. So it can be as simple as one information or one box on one side and another box on one side, your IV stated here, your DV over here, and an arrow over there. That's it. If your conceptual framework is something that is so complicated, right? It looks complicated, looks nice, maybe, right, for some people, but for me, it is an attempt of trying to manipulate the examiner. You're just trying to, impress us, but in actual fact, it's not relevant to your study. So please do not do that, right? Focus on what you are doing, right? Up to the level that you are doing. Don't just simply put things for the sake of putting things. Okay, so that's basically my point. When it comes to redoing the diagram, basically I would like to also for you to also do this, because that is basically also the standard way when we write academic papers. Any one of you in the future, if you are going into academia or doing postgraduate research, that is also something that is always emphasized. Diagrams, do it yourself. You can either redo the diagram using the SPSS software or do it in your own way, but whichever the case, you need to do your own diagrams, not just simply take from something. But then, of course, when you put in the diagram, because these theories are not originally from you, there should be an in-text citation like this to emphasize that the diagram is inspired or is in reference to the diagram that was created or produced by someone else before. Right? The diagram, even though it was in a way made by you or remade by you, doesn't mean it's something that is, the content is originally yours. You don't claim that, okay? Especially when it comes to theoretical framework. We are not, none of us over here are up to the level of, proposing our own theory. So we are referring to theories established from years of research by other researchers. So make sure you acknowledge that. Find the reference. Theoretical framework is one part of your FYP where the recency of your references does not really matter. Recency, what I mean is the reference doesn't have to be 5 years, it should not be less than 5 years old, that particular point. Because theoretical framework, you often refer to books that explain about the theory, right? And because of that, it could be referring to books that are more older than 5 years or even more than that. Especially if the theory has been long established, like this one, UGT 1993, so it's okay, right, for you to have references that are older than 5 years. Okay. Okay, so that is about conceptual framework. Now, this is with regards to those of you who are doing qualitative research. So at the end of your FYP report, there should be an appendix section where you put in the transcription of the interview that you did with your respondents. So when you do the transcription, please ensure that you pay attention to a couple of things. First of all, by right, as best as possible, the transcription should be verbatim. Verbatim means it is word by word. It's not it's not something redacted or something which you, as the researcher, summarize what your respondent said. No, the transcription should be the actual dialogue, which the best would be it includes all the A and R and alama and everything should be there in the dialogue. And at a certain level also, if you will go higher when it comes to doing qualitative research, the transcript should also include some notes on your part as the researcher, notes of the respondents' non-verbal gestures, like the raised tone, raised eyebrows, thumping the table, right? So you can actually add notes over there. But I don't think that is something that is so much relevant when it comes to the kind of research that you are doing. So that's okay. But at least there must be an attempt that we see in the transcript that you provide that it is something verbatim. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, you should not be revealing the actual name of your respondents. So you should refer to them as something like this: P1, P2, or respondent 1, respondent 2, or even if you want to maybe emphasize on the gender of the person, maybe male 1, or John Doe 1, Jane Doe 1, something like that. So it should not be the actual name of your respondents, because you should respect the ethical concept that we have when it comes to doing research, right? Respecting or securing, right, the personal identity of your respondents. Okay, now in cases where I think I would like to emphasize on this also, when you are doing interview, and I'm going to remind your supervisors as well, we ought to have your respondents also filling up and signing off a consent form. But the consent form, the original, you can keep. Of course, the consent form would have the name and IC number of your respondents, but when you add it into your FYP report in the appendix, the actual name, IC, and so on, all those personal information that can give us, provide us the identity of the person, you can blank that and cover that. All right, so these are certain ethical aspect or good practice when it comes to doing research that we ought to respect. And I think it's something that is good also for you to be accustomed to or used to doing this, because I'm sure some of you over here will be doing some form of research in the future, whether it is for academic purposes or maybe for market survey or market analysis. So you need to respect and know how to do this, correctly. Getting the information, yes, but at the same time also not revealing the personal information of your respondents. Okay, do not reveal the identity of your respondents. Okay. Okay, next over here is with regards to APA style. Now, again, over here, we are not going to be very, very particular in terms of how you actually, whether or not every single letter, every single full stop is over there. We are not going to check upon that, but at least on surface value, we can see whether or not there is an attempt to try and comply. Now, basically, key differences, obvious, parts when it comes to complying to APA style, when it comes to putting in or listing down journal articles. Right. First thing is, I would like to emphasize DOI should be there. Right? The DOI, of course, would be referring to the digital online indicator, I believe, or index. So this is something that is provided when you are accessing any online journal articles. There should be somewhere on the page, on the first page, the link or the address over here for the DOI. So copy and paste it in the list. Other than that, beyond the obvious, this is surnames, right? Not full names, even though an argument can be made in terms of how do you cite like a Malay person in Malaysia, whether you put the father's name over there or the person's name over there. I personally don't quite like putting my father's name over there because, people who identify as my father, not me. But, I will not want to emphasize too much on that. But those of you in the future, if you are doing your postgraduate research in public universities like UKM, UPM, UITM, they have a specific system on how you cite Malay names. Do you put the father's name as a surname, or you put the name of the person So some universities actually emphasize, like my name, for example, Muhammad Zaki Samsudin. Right? If you follow the convention according to Western standard, right, Samsudin becomes my surname, my father's name, Samsudin, comma MZ. But then, according to some other formatting that we have in local university, you actually write it Muhammad Zaki S. dot. Because they want to emphasize that this is the person. If you put the father's name, it becomes difficult to identify. But then those are specific things, right? That you no need to really emphasize on that. But the thing that I would definitely see, and one of the things I would see in terms of compliance to APA is this: when you write put in journal articles in the list, the understanding and interpreting regression analysis just now. This is the title of the journal article. Evidence-based nursing is the title of the journal publication, the journal book. Okay, so the title of the research topic is not in italics, and only the first letter is in uppercase. The rest are all lower cases. Oops, sorry. And then, but when it comes to the publication title, the journal title, right? The journal publication title, evidence-based nursing, this one, yes, in italics, and every first letter is uppercase. And then the edition number 24 is also italics. The volume number 4 is not. And the volume number also, by right, should not be anything more than 4, because this is actually referring to how many times, what is the volume for that year? Sorry. What is the volume for that year? What I mean is, this is 4, means this is the 4th publication in 2021. So there are no journals in the world that is published more than 4 times, as far as I know, every year. So it's more than 4, I think something weird. Sometimes it's only 1, sometimes only twice. 4 is quite standard for many of the bigger journals. So if it's something, the number is something weird, like 49 or 55, it must be something wrong over there. So these are the things I would look into on face value when it comes to looking into your formatting compliance. I should go faster, sorry. Now, when it comes to language tenses, okay, now this is with regards to when do you write in past tense and present tense. Okay, now again, this is a very common error, which I think by right should be easily avoided, and it's easy for you to change this. Now, all this while, up to this point, doing your completing FYP1, when you write and explain about the objective of your research, and especially the information in your chapter 3 about your methodology and methods, you will use future tense. Why? Because you have not conducted the research yet. So that's why it would be something like this. Snowball sampling method will be used. But when you are submitting FYP2 final report, by right, it should be upon completion of the research. So because of that, a lot of the things that used to be in future tense should be in past tense. Okay, means you have completed this. So for example, for this sentence, it should be something like an online survey using snowball sampling method was used to collect the data. Now, having said that, it's not that everything must be in past tense, because if you were to follow a very blanket rule, everything past tense, it doesn't quite make sense also. Okay, so let me show you a couple of examples. Okay, this one is future tense needs to change to past tense, right? So will be conducted, will be done. So it should be should be in past tense now. It should no longer with the word will over there. Now, okay, here is an area where a blanket use of past tense is wrong. For example, the first sentence over here. Now, in most cases, when it comes to explaining about the research methods, your sampling method, so you can write in past tense. However, when you are writing, like what you see over here on the opening part of this paragraph, about the reason why quantitative research is used for this research. You cannot use past tense over there, because if you read this sentence, quantitative research allowed researchers to represent complex problems. Now, why is that wrong? Why past tense is wrong over here? It's wrong because if you were to leave it like this, it means quantitative research in the past allowed researchers to represent complex problems. But now, maybe not so more, maybe not true anymore. So it provides the impression that that would be the case, that it was applicable in the past, no, not applicable anymore now. So when it comes to emphasizing statement of facts like this, the language tenses should be present tense, because you are explaining something which is understood, quintessential. It's something which is understood, not to say forever, but it's something that is applicable previously and also now. So you used present tense. So the correct way to write this should be: quantitative research allows researchers to represent complex problems through variables and hypotheses, and provides a summary of the findings. Right, so same thing also as defined by Creswell. Right, it over here refers to quantitative research involves the collection of numerical data. Because if you leave the word involved over there, it means that in the past, yes, it involved numerical data. Now, not so much anymore. So it doesn't quite make sense, isn't it? Right, so when it comes to these kinds of sentences in chapter 3, methods in 3.1, should be in present tense, right? But when you're explaining about something that you have done yourself, the data, how you collected the data, how many people you interviewed, explaining those things, yes, in past tense, because you have done it. And it's not something which is everyone is doing, only you have done it. So that one is past tense. Okay, I hope you can see the distinction over there. And this is a good example of when it was correct to use past tense and when you need to use present tense. So that sentence over there, this study was conducted. So past tense, because it was conducted by this person. But when explaining about qualitative research refers to, okay, present tense. In the second paragraph over there, there are several reasons why qualitative method was selected, because the researchers selected this. But when it comes to explaining the benefits or the virtues of qualitative research stated over there, it is beneficial in obtaining, because it is something which is agreed upon previously and also until now, continuously. Right? So this is a very good example in terms of how and when you should use past tense and present tense for chapter 3. Okay, so I will share this slide with you later on. Please look at this. Right? So when you draft and finalize your chapter 3, make sure you look this as a sample. All right, submission. Now this is the most important thing, I guess, in terms of when you have to submit. So this is the deadline that we have set for submission, 11th of August, submitting on Turn It In, and then submit soft copy of your final FYP2 final report via email to the FYP coordinator and supervisor and an assigned Viva panelist. Submit that by 16 August on Wednesday, and we will organize the Viva presentation session on week 13. I think the number of students for FYP2 this semester is not as many as previous semester. We should be able to finish this in 1 week. So we are looking at finishing all the Viva presentations on week 13. So when is week 13 exactly? Week 13, according to your academic calendar, week 13 would be the week starting from 21st of August. Okay, so you submit on 16. So we'll do the Viva probably on Monday, and I think we should be able to finish this in either 2 or 3 days. Okay, because this is during exam week, but I think most of you over here by right should not have final exams, because final exam nowadays is only for courses that are knowledge-based, core courses. Maybe for those of you taking principle of marketing specialization course, because it's now under business school, you probably have an exam for that, final exam for that. So we need to look into your timetable also for those of you who are taking that subject. For the rest of you, I think you should be free during the exam week. Okay, so that's the target that you need to look into when it comes to submission. Okay, now the Turnitin ID, this is the Turnitin ID and animal key. Again, I will share this later on with you. The other important point I would like to emphasize also, nowadays we no longer normally ask anyone to resubmit. So when you do your Viva presentation, we've asked you questions and we give feedback. It is normally just for that purpose, for general discussion and reflection. So whatever suggestions or even comments that is given by the examiners, by myself or the other Viva panelists, would be for all of us to discuss about your experience doing this research. And even if we give you some suggestions on how the research can be improved in the future, this is for you to take note for any future research that you may do, either for further studies or for your work later on. So no longer that we require you to take note of the comments and then make corrections and then resubmit your report. However, in special circumstances, special cases, we do ask students to resubmit if there are glaring errors or serious errors in your research, which may put you at risk of failing your FYP. So if we consider that what you have submitted is below the minimum requirement, as in, enough for you to pass, we will ask you to resubmit. Normally, we'll give you a very specific feedback in terms of what are the things that you can do corrections, and then resubmit within 2 weeks. Please take this seriously, because last semester, January semester, we had 3 cases of students that we've asked them to resubmit. And one of them, because the information in chapter 1 and chapter 4 and 5 was just not consistent. The research question in chapter 1 was one thing, and chapter 4 and 5, the research question was something else. Right. And then one other case, a student was presenting something which is overly complicated with so many different kinds of very sophisticated, advanced statistical analysis. But then when we ask the person, how did you do this? Say, I have a friend that helped me. So it's something wrong somewhere over there. Please do not do that. It's okay to ask your friend to help you to do analysis, but it should be at least, even if your friends help you to do the analysis, you must understand what you have done. You must understand what you are presenting. So if you are, saying something like that, and then we ask you to explain what is that on your paper, why are these numbers? What is the relevance of this analysis to your research question? You cannot explain, something wrong somewhere over there. But again, we do not want to jump into conclusion of accusing you to, anything more serious, because we don't have the evidence and we don't want to do that. But at the very least, you must be able to explain what you have written, what you are presenting during the Viva. Right, so that is, again, another case last semester, and the final one was again a case of where there are a few sections of certain parts of the research design was just something which was not consistent with the research question. So because of that, I had to suggest some corrections to be made. Right, so those would be the, in a way, cases at one extreme that we will ask you to resubmit. On the other extreme, right, the really good submission, we do sometimes ask you to resubmit, not because we want to punish you, but more because we want to see how we can further improve the already good work that you have done, and see whether or not we can further improve this for the purpose of publication or seminar presentation. So we have had that 1 or 2 cases in the previous semesters. So hopefully this is something I hope we can do more this semester and in the future as well. Okay, so you can read also, this is a point you have the reference on the guideline. Now, not more than 15% for Turnitin. Now, understandably, a lot of you, when you submit on Turnitin, you will find that your Turnitin percentage is actually quite high. The reason being, you are using some parts of your chapter 1 and 2, especially from your research proposal assignment, research proposal assignment for research methodology. So it's already there in the Turnitin database. So because of that, you get flagged by your own previous assignment. So those are the things that I can, as the coordinator of the course, right? I'm the admin in a way of the Turnitin class. I can manually exclude certain parts. So normally that's what I need to do. That's why you need to submit on Turnitin first. I need to see the percentage, the similarity report, and see whether or not I can adjust accordingly to bring down to above to below 15%. But in cases where, even if in cases where the percentage is just so high, then definitely I may need you to revise certain things in order for us to get the similarity percentage below or not more than 15%. Okay. Now, finally, as explained last semester when you were taking FYP1, whenever that you meet your supervisor, please record some information about the meeting in the log sheet. Now, these log sheets, eventually, I will collect them at the end of this semester when you finishing your FYP2 to be submitted before your Viva presentation. I will normally create online folders for individual students, so you upload your log sheets over there. All right, so again, I would like to emphasize, log sheets doesn't have to be for every single meeting. If you are meeting your supervisor many times or multiple times in 1 month, you can compile all some brief summary information of your meetings in 1 month, in the same month, in one log sheet form. It's okay. So you put multiple dates over there, multiple numbers over there, and just put some brief summary information of what are the things that you discuss. It doesn't have to be in detail. Again, I would like to emphasize, log sheets is not for us to, just for us to, torture you or give you a burden to added burden in terms of, writing this form. This is important as evidence that some form of supervision took place between you and your supervisor. So it's something that is important for you, especially for students, that we know that you have consulted your supervisor, and also for us to show evidence in case there are any auditors or anyone who would like to see the process of how the supervision took place. We can show that this is the evidence that the supervision process had taken place. Okay, so the link to the online folders, I will give it to you later on. Right. Oh, sorry, this is all information, not updated yet. Okay, now Viva presentation, I think the setup of it, I think I will decide. We need to figure out exactly how we do it. I mentioned just now, we would like to try and do it in some kind of seminar setting. But again, I will inform further details about that later on in this semester. All right, let me see. Are there any questions or not? Sample uploaded FYP1, FYP2. Yes, actually, you can see if you refer to the open learning page from last semester, not this semester, because I don't think I have an open learning page for FYP2. So this is for FYP1. You can go back here. I hope you did not delete that group. So if you go to your January group, so you can see over here samples. So there are FYP samples over here. One sample qualitative, another one sample over here quantitative, and this is this is a sample for approval sheet. Yeah, I've been thinking for the longest time to revise this also. I feel the approval sheet is overly complicated, but I think just use this now. If I can revise this at some point in the semester, I will let you know. This is sample for chapter 4, sample for chapter 5, especially for FYP2 students. Okay, so this would be your reference if you're looking at, if you would like to see a sample. Okay. Yes, I mean, in cases where your the interaction or discussion between you and your supervisor was done mainly through email, yes, you can also put that as part of your in the log sheets. Okay, please put that on. Maybe not every email, but maybe a summary of it, maybe in 1 month. I think you can actually put that in one log sheet form. Right. So, like I said, it should be at least, we don't really emphasize the minimum number of times that you should be meeting your supervisor, but I think it ought to be at least 2 log sheet forms every semester. So at least 2 for FYP1 and at least another 2 for FYP2. Some students, yes, they give us a lot more. I had one student, I think 2 semesters ago, who put in log sheets form. I think the whole of it was 25, around that, log sheet forms. It's not necessary. I really appreciate the attention to detail and the you know the vigorousness on the part of the student, but it's not necessary for you to do that. So you can compile and summarize multiple meetings in 1 month in one log sheet form. Okay, so if you have monthly log sheets, so that would be easily 3 log sheet forms every semester, because every semester is about 4 months. Maybe 3 months is enough, 3 for FYP1, 3 FYP2. So minimum, I think, is 2 and 2. I should be. Anything less than that, it does raise some concern about the process of supervision that took place. Okay, and that is something that, to be fair, is something that reflects obviously not so good on your part as a student, but also on our part as the academics here in the school and your supervisor individually as well. Okay, so I hope I answered your question, Nelson. So you can put in email communication also as part of your log sheet form entry. Anything else? Okay, so if not, I would like to wish you all the best for the rest of the semester in completing your FYP2. Those of you who are under me, I will return back your FYP1 submission together with my feedback. But students who are not under me, if you would like to consult me on anything, especially when it comes to quantitative data analysis, which I may probably have more experience doing so compared to my colleagues over here. If you'd like to seek my advice, please email me. We can set up a time for us to go through your data analysis component. I am generally this semester free on Wednesday and Thursday. But other than that, if you need to meet me other than Thursday or Wednesday, you can always email me to suggest a time. I will try and see whether or not I can fit your requests into my calendar. The fees for undergraduate seminar should be worth 1 credit hour only, isn't it? Which is 500 to 600 ringgit. Yeah, I think if that is the concern, now basically it's something that I cannot run away from because it is actually something that is worth 1 credit hour. Now, we have been thinking about whether or not we should do classes for undergraduate seminar, but I don't quite want to create unnecessary burden on that part. The best that I would do, especially for those of you who are taking a undergraduate seminar, we will do maybe like a mock seminar or pre-seminar class to explain about the mechanics and the arrangements for seminars. So that is something that we probably will do. But I get your point, because it seems to be something which is very minimum in terms of requirement, but the fees is considered to be worth 1 credit hour. But then yes, it's something that I cannot run away from. There are two schools in KDU who adopted the same strategy in compensating for this 1 credit hour. One is ours, the other one is School of Engineering. So School of Engineering also, that's why you see now every semester School of Engineering, their final project student will be doing some kind of seminar. Last year, they actually did some kind of exhibition. So that is something that we have thought about doing. So in a way, we are thinking about converting eventually the Viva presentation session for FYP into a colloquium, where it becomes almost like a proper seminar. So in a way, it becomes something more worthwhile in terms of the money that you pay. But I get your point. It's something which is yeah, it's kind of high, 600 ringgit. Okay, let me think about how to make it worth your money, right? But of course, you wouldn't want me to ask you to do anything more, isn't it? But I think on our part, yes, we should provide you with something more than just simply doing the Viva presentation. So we will think about me organizing an event around the undergraduate seminar so that it is something which is worth the fees that you actually pay for it. Okay, point taken. Thank you. Anything else? Someone is typing while waiting for the person to finish typing. Anyone would like to say anything? We already passed 15 minutes over the time. All right, yes. Anyone, if you have any questions, especially any personal concerns about any issues that you are having, please, you can always email me. I sometimes can be very sloppy. I can say that not sometimes, many times I'm very sloppy and slow when it comes to replying to emails. So because of that, please do email me multiple times. If you do not get any response from me within 48 hours, I should improve on that part when it comes to responding to your email as soon as possible. Okay, so if there is nothing else, I wish you all the best. Hopefully, we will have all of us will eventually, all of us here, all of you over here will eventually complete your FYP at the end of this semester, and we can also hopefully organize a good and proper presentation session for your undergraduate seminar also at the end of it. Okay, thank you very much everyone for coming to this call, to this briefing. Now I'm using this I'm holding this online briefing using Microsoft Teams. So by right, all of you who are invited into this meeting eventually will get the link to the recording of this briefing through your Microsoft Teams notification, or you can see this in the chat box eventually. Right, so I think I don't need to share the link if you are thinking about passing or listening to the recording, especially those of you who may not be here. So please look look into the chat features later on for the link to the recording for this session if you would like to play back any information I've covered just now. The slides I've given to you just now, yes, I will give it to you. I think I will email, right? Or if I were to upload on your Open Learning page, I have this issue. If I were to upload, it will actually be seen by both students this semester and last semester. So I think I will email when it comes to this slide to all of you later on. Okay. All right. Again, thank you very much for coming. So I wish you all the best for the rest of your, or the remaining of your FYP journey. I hope to see all of you later on during your Viva presentation. And if there are any issues, again, please email me, let me know, or you can just drop by my office. We can always try to, find the best possible solutions for any issues that you have. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.